Hey there, I'm Jeff Cordes, and welcome to the C.R.A.P Leadership Podcast. My philosophy is about C.R.A.P, caring, respect, appreciation, and praise. C.R.A.P is the linchpin that will reduce your turnover by up to 80% and help you build a high-performance culture.
And this is Randy Walensky. Been a speaker, trainer, sales professional, and coach for over 10 years, using all of Jeff's C.R.A.P. I started using these principles early in my career as a leader, and I've been continuing to apply them in all my other business interactions. And we want to bring these principles to you in your organization. Let's jump in.
I see get-togethers as both a communication tool as well as a recognition tool.
Everything is about relationships and people. Getting together as a ritual, it makes the other person human. And you need that as a leader because you are often, whether by choice or not, often you get separated, treated special. You're like the king or the queen of the castle.
If you make these things fun, and you can make them fun, you just got to get a little creative.
The thing we're doing, we're driving communication, we're driving people, and we're driving loyalty in the organization.
Hey, I'm Jeff Cordes.
And I'm Randy Walensky.
Hey, today we're going to talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that is get-togethers. I think this has become more and more important as we've done return to work and people are coming back into the office. Get-togethers are the sort of thing that can make work enjoyable and really can make a difference. I mean, and we need to get back to them. I've seen a lot of people. What they've done is they were doing them before, and now that people are coming back to work, for whatever reason, they're not doing them. Well, it's time to get back to doing get-togethers as an organization.
When you first brought this up, Jeff, my very first thought was like, are we really going to tell people to go and have parties? Are we really going to do that? Like, don't people know? Well, I was thinking, don't people know better? And the reality is they know, but it's also the easiest thing to let slide. And as you said, people are busier. They're asking for more work-life balance. And maybe they're even foolishly opting out of any of the events that there are. And that's a huge miss for people. I remember, and you've probably had people like this, they're like, I'm not going to that event unless you pay me, right? That's one of their first things that they say.
Right.
I was always the opposite. I was like, that just seems foolish because I realized that not everybody does and not everybody cares about it. But I realized that everything is about relationships and people. And the more relationships you can create, the better. So even if you weren't paying me for it, I have an opportunity to build bonds and relationships with my coworkers. I know that's going to help me get further. Same thing with if there's upper management. I want to see what they're like. I want to get to know them on a personal basis. So they're so important. And even for those naysayers, even for those people that are those curmudgeons of the group that might complain about it, they secretly enjoy it. You just might have to work on them and show the importance of it and show that you're there. And it's not just a rah drink the Kool-Aid session, because I get where some people go a little off on those kind of things. Right. But they're so important, and you're absolutely right. So yeah, let's dig into them.
Well, I see get-togethers particularly on company time, because you can have them when they're not on company time, but my focus is going to be have them on company time, because I see get-togethers as both a communication tool as well as a recognition tool. Because let's say, for instance, you do a quarterly town hall. You get everybody together. And when I used to do these things, the senior staff used to get up and present. We talk about what's going on in HR, what's going on in sales, what's going on in quality. And we talk about those things. So it was a way of informing people as to what's going on. It was also a great way to recognize people. And a classic example would be we had record sales, but we also had record deliveries. We got things out the door. Yeah, and so we could say to the entire team, say, hey, we did something special here, and we want to recognize that. And that's what builds pride. That's what builds culture. But the key is making sure that you're using it as a communication tool as well as a recognition tool. We also used to use them as an example. Our finance guy was great. He would get up there and he would show a dollar bill. And he would show the dollar bill, what were all the costs associated within that dollar that, if the company makes $1, where do we spend our money? It was about transparency. And he would show, ultimately, we spent this much on materials, we spent this much on labor, we spent this much on whatever. And then he'd ultimately show, hey, this is what the profit was. And we were totally transparent. And people love that because we educated them on the business. We communicated how we were doing. Again, a communication tool and a recognition tool. That should be the first takeaway you will take away from today's event.
Well, and that's really important to have that transparency and that communication, especially from upper leadership. So a get-together is a great way to do that. I also think it's very important that not all your get-together meetings have to have the State of a Union, the facts and figures. You don't have to learn something at every event. Imagine if you went to you thought it was a birthday party and it ended up being a seminar. You might be a little disappointed. So we're humans. We have to have both of those things. But that was one of the things that, as we were talking about this, I'm like, all right, I want to educate myself. I was looking at a Harvard Business Review article, which is great. We can put a link somewhere, wherever we put that. And it really talked about the rituals of humans. And that was the main focus, is how do you break down the walls? How do you bring people together? And we've all experienced this. If you're in a big enough company, there's going to be silos. There's going to be departments. There's going to be things that they don't communicate, and they're even adversarial in the same company. The getting together as a ritual brings you together. It makes the other person human. Those are so important. And now, right? But some of them, you can really get work done as well. There's nothing wrong with that. As you said, Jeff, hey, this is our State of the Union. Hey, this is where we're going. Hey, this is the opportunity for us to communicate. We're going to feed you, but we're also going to educate you. You got to have both of those. And you never want to miss out on an opportunity to bring people together, because even those little side conversations, those are important. The after the conversation and that shared mutual experience, we're humans. We're part of a society, and we have to bring people together, and we have to see how work and play can mix together in a very positive way.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that you hit on another, I would see as a great takeaway, for a second takeaway for this event, is food. Bring food. People love to eat. It's a great equializer. I mean, and I used to do events where, I'm from Wisconsin, so brats were big. And we
might have to define those, Jeff. Does everyone know what a brat is? If they don't have that German,
a sausage that's got a particular taste to it. That's the best way I can describe it. But the point is we'd grill brats, and senior leadership, we'd be out there grilling brats. We'd be helping set up. While people are eating, we go from table to table, or we would never sit at a table all isolated by ourselves. We'd sit with different groups of folks, so people got to know us. Because let me tell you, when you're stuffing a brat in your face and somebody asks you a question, it's humbling. Yeah, and again, it showed that we were real, that we weren't just some stiffs that sat up in the Crystal Palace and did things like that. It breaks down barriers, and that is absolutely huge. It gives you an opportunity to interact with people. And I mean, you can talk about different things. I want to make sure I talk about, you can have town hall meetings. You can do department meetings. You can do various events. We used to do one on company time. We take a whole afternoon and we would do events. I mean, we played flag football. We did pitching contest with I'm talking with a golf club, and we do beanbag throws. We do all those things, and we actually used to form teams, and they were departmental teams. So there was that competition thing. Americans are competitive, and when you got these departmental teams together, it was amazing. The senior team, meaning vice president of marketing, vice president of sales, we were all on one team together, and I got to tell you, people used to love to beat us, and it added an element in there, and it was just fun, and there was something for everybody. So no matter whether or not you've got a disability, whatever, we used to make sure that we had events where people could participate, and everybody be cheering people on. It was great.
Yeah, you're bringing up something good that even we should break off and talk about as well as the actual team building, because that's a very specific type
Right.
of event that you can have. But if you can bring in fun and competition, and I'll even say, because some people are averse to competition, I don't know, weirdos. No, some people are just more driven by cooperation. So you'll have your competitive people and you'll have your cooperation. And even if you can bring something together that's cooperative and has some competition, that's like a win-win type event. And to your point about leaders, yeah, if somebody would be in, I don't know, a sack hopping competition, and they're the leader and they fall in their face, they're leveled with everybody else. Right? They become human, and they don't feel above or set apart, or they don't act that way. And then people start again seeing them as a human doing the same thing that they're doing. They're real. And you need that as a leader, because you are often, whether by choice or not, often you get separated, treated special. You're like the king or the queen of the castle. And if you can become more of the every person's person, every man's man, we might say, whatever the case would be, you just, people are more loyal to you. And that's kind of the thing we're doing. We're driving communication, we're driving people, and we're driving loyalty in the organization. When you don't have these,
you're building culture. I mean, I worked in an environment, and ironically, the organization I was talking about with the day of the event was a software company. And you'd think, okay, you picture a bunch of software geeks,
bunch of nerds,
right? It was the most competitive group, and we had fun.
Yeah,
and fun's important at work.
Absolutely, because that is what bonds you to your colleagues. It bonds you to your managers. It bonds you to your leaders when you can have fun together. And these particular events, when you just pass them by the wayside, let them be the first thing on the chopping block when it comes for budget, is a very missed opportunity, because fun keeps people there. That's one of the reasons people stay. As you said, it builds the culture, but it builds a community. And we all want to feel like we belong somewhere. We all want to have something to talk about with other people. We all want something to look forward to. And this hits on so many different levels that even if the budget isn't huge, don't just what would it be? Throw the baby out with the bathwater. You've got to keep something, even if you scale it down or even if you change it a little bit or whatever. I think another good point is it doesn't always have to come, if we're talking about leaders, it doesn't have to come just from a top down.
Right.
The leader decides on everything that we're doing and they architect everything. You should come from the people who are going to be at the event, and that you should look for feedback and look for clues as to what things did they really enjoy. If that happens to be a survey that you send out, if it happens to be really just getting out there and talking to the people about what worked and what didn't work, and actually modifying the get-togethers. Because you kind of touched on it before, people are so busy, maybe they don't want to do the after work ones like you've been doing for years. Maybe you offer that to half the people who want to show up to those or have the time and the luxury to fit in to their schedule, and you have them during work when there's nothing to complain about. And then those people that are reluctant to go are going to go anyway, and they're going to be happier they went anyway, whether they admit it or not. They're going to enjoy it. So looking to your people to help architect these things is really important as well.
Oh yeah, I was not an event planner. That just wasn't me. But I was smart enough that I would go to people and say, hey, we're going to be doing this. You want to help me? Because I need help. And the ideas that came out were incredible. And it's a way to get people engaged. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's not talking about finance, but the point being is people got involved, got to interact with teammates or across departments, with managers who were involved on the team as well. And again, it's just it was kind of a team building thing, and developed esprit de corps and things like that. The other thing I want to emphasize is I've been kind of talking at on a more grand scale with company-wide things. I had department managers. They used to get their people together. They do donuts, they do whatever, and they wanted to create that esprit de corps in their team. So they had get-togethers, and a lot of department managers would do potlucks and all those types of things because people enjoyed contributing. It was fun. I mean, and I'll use a good example is the CrossFit gym where I workout. I'm a power lifter, but I go to a CrossFit gym. We do a workout every Memorial Day it's called Murph. And we make an event out of it. And I'm known for bringing my famous smoked pork butt. I'll smoke my pork butts, and everybody asks every year we do Murph. Jeff, you gonna bring smoked pork butts? Everybody brings their specialty dish. We have a ball. It creates a culture within the gym that's different than a lot of places where like 24-hour fitness. Nothing against 24-hour fitness. I don't want to be blackballed by them. 24-hour fitness where people show up and you might never see the same people. At our gym, you see the same people. You get to know each other. You get to know their families. It's just great. It works. And so this owner of the gym, he's developed a culture. And that is a real value to having get-togethers.
Yeah, it's not too dissimilar from a work environment. You're all working hard together with shared and separate goals, and then you're coming together as a community and enjoying your time together. So not too terribly dissimilar. One thing I wanted to ask you about, Jeff, that's just been on my mind ever since we started talking about it is, what would you tell a manager that might be dealing with those, I'll call them curmudgeons, or we'll just say they like being set apart. They won't go to anything. They'll complain about it. They'll look for every excuse to get out. What can a leader or a manager who's going in with best intentions, trying to create community in their department, trying to create community in the organization or reinforcing it, creating FaceTime, humanize. They're doing all the things right for all the right reasons, but they're just going to be people that are like, they might be donkeys, as we've talked about earlier.
Yeah, we talked about the donkeys. No, I think again, and this is what we used to do, and I know good department managers that were great leaders, what they say is, no, this is on company time. It's an expectation you'll be there. And what we found was oftentimes the people that were curmudgeons, when people have a chance to ask questions, they'd come up with some complaint. And the department manager would address it. And a lot of the people in the department look and say, oh, not again. Steve's bringing that up again. But the point being is there was an expectation you'd be there. And that's one of the advantages of doing them on company time. You're there. This is a company activity. That's just the way it is. And most people lighten up, especially when you start eating food, having a little fun. Most people lighten up.
Yeah. So even the people who are maybe the most obstinate, as long as, and as I'm now saying it, I feel like most of their complaints are if they feel like it's low value, or they feel like it's just part of, like, you got to drink the Kool-Aid and be part of it, or it has some sort of agenda. So maybe another part, and tell me what you think of this, because just free thinking here, is the more it's focused on people's enjoyment, recognition, people, it's really hard to then complain about doing that when it's not just an excuse to, try to take from your time. Like all the things that people complain of what those are going on at company events, it's actually about the connection and about humans and about being together. And as you said before, how important food is, it's the having food there and making it a little bit of a celebration, even if there's a little bit of learning, but it's not just one-sided. Maybe that's a key part of it. But you're right. People do.
I think that's huge. I mean, I like to use the F word, fun. If you make these things fun, and you can make them fun, you just got to get a little creative. You make them fun. Again, you bring that into the organization, because too many people out there, I mean, there's studies upon studies that talk about this. A lot of people don't have fun at work. And having fun at work doesn't mean that you're screwing around and you're not doing things you're supposed to be doing. You can still have fun and be at work. And I think we need to kind of, when we do these get-togethers, we need to kind of keep that in mind. Granted, there's going to be serious sides. But if we can inject fun into it, boy, we've really kind of taken it to the next level. We're coming up on, Randy, unless you got something compelling to say, we're coming up on 18 minutes.
I think that's good. I think we've nailed it for this one. We want to keep this bite size, and we've driven home the point. Don't neglect these. Don't just throw them by the wayside. Right. They're very important because we're humans. When we get all replaced by robots, you won't need get-togethers anymore. But as long as there's humans working, We need human connection. We need ritual.
Yes.
We need things to look forward to and celebrations and like recognition, like you said. But yeah, let's recap it. What do we take away?
3 takeaways. Food. You should always have, in my opinion, you should always have food. It's a great equalizer. They're designed. Second one is these events are designed to help communicate, recognize, and then the last one is they can be company wide or they can be in a department. Those would be my 3 big takeaways that from today. So on that note, we're going to close out. I'm Jeff Cordes.
I'm Randy Walensky.
Hey, I want to tell you, remember, give your employees crap. Why? Because
crap works. We're going to get that stuff at some point. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one. Bye-bye.